And I've done it. We're live on a Thursday night. Just so happened that I didn't have to work today. So, we're live. My work schedule has changed. I was Tuesday through Saturday, so I try to go live on Mondays quite often. But now I'm back Monday through Friday. So it depends. How badly am I going to get massacred at work on whether I go live or not? So, should I pull a Cody Rhodes? What do you want to talk about? Probably not. We're going to start with future video announcements and how I'm going to do that. I'm going to use an old gold and blue dude trope, the Get It Gang video. The Get It Gang video. He taught me a lot just by watching about audience interaction. Now, I don't always take that how I should. I don't always, I didn't learn completely. But I'm going to try to bring some of this back in tribute to Mr. Chris, the golden blue dude, Chris Petrie. Anyway, he would say, hey, what do you guys want me to make a video about? So that's what I'm doing. I can pull some ideas out of my ass as I usually do, but I want to know, what do you want to talk about? What do you want me to talk about? What do you want me to make a video about? Don't make it boring. I won't use every suggestion, but first of all, have it related to college sports of some kind. That would be much appreciated. Something in the vein of what the channel's about. But have a good suggestion. Maybe one of them will click. And if it does, I'll give you credit in the video. I'm like, hey, here's a Get It Gang suggestion from blah. And then I'll, spill out the mediocre content just for your consumption. That's how I'm going to do that. And I was reminded of that a year ago. Mr. Chris Petrie passed away. Had a lot of health concerns, health issues, things he'd been battling. None of us knew it. I didn't know it. I thought, thought he was just fine. But he wasn't. And I started off this new YouTube journey because I'd been on YouTube for quite a few years. Gotten nowhere. They always said, pick a niche, but stick with it. Yeah, I didn't do that. Until the realignment stuff started popping off. Till Texas and Oklahoma left. And I'm like, whoa. Let me start talking about that. Let me get into that. And it's been full steam ahead ever since. But when I started that little journey, not long afterwards, I would say, I was around 500, 600, 700 subscribers or so. Did my first live stream ever. Finally got the guts to do that. And lo and behold, there's Golden Blue Dude in the comments. Watching the video, watching my live stream, throwing in some comments. At the time, he's around 14,000 subscribers, which, if you look around, your independent YouTubers that are talking college football in any kind of way, whether it's, all channels bigger than mine, by the way. But guys like Outlaw of College Sports, Cooz's Corner, or what is that? College Football Mafia, or Peek Around the Corner, Greg Flugar. None of those guys have 14,000 subscribers. That's quite an accomplishment. As now I'm kind of like starting to slowly trudge my way to 2,000 subscribers. I'm like, wow, 14. That dude, and he could throw out content. Son of a bitch, he could throw out some content. 1-2 videos a day, 7 days a week. I don't know. That's what it felt like. And every time I pulled up, I would search for something, right? All right, I want to know about this. And there'd be maybe, one or two videos from some national corporate types or whatever. And then Golden Blue Dude, like 4 videos. I'm like, holy crap, on everything I search. That's why I started clicking and watching his stuff. And at first I was like, oh, I didn't like him at first. Because I don't know, I guess the first video was something about, West Virginia needs to go to the ACC. And I'm like, really? Well, here I go. I'm going to make me a video and I'm going to trash this guy. And I trashed the crap out of him. And it's still way back there. It's several years ago, but that video is still up. I've never taken it down. But after that, I kept coming back to Mr. Golden Blue Dude. And, he was good. He had an infectious personality. You can just tell he had a good heart. And he loved what he was talking about. He's passionate about it. And I was like, damn, okay. Then something clicked. Like, oh. It was shortly after that he started adding the speculation zone. All right, because people are like, oh, they just trash him. Oh, you're just talking speculation. Well, yeah. It's sports. That's like 90% of all sports talk is speculation. None of it based on fact or reality. I mean, based on it, but not really full of just nothing but. Because if that's all you had to talk about every day, you would have nothing to talk about. So yeah, it's a ton of speculation. So he created the speculation zone. Genius. And then especially once he did that, I was like, oh, I'm stupid. This is what he was doing the whole time. So then I became a fan. And the guy, he reached out and invited me on his show. And like I said, this is before I had 1,000 subscribers. I was nothing. I'm still nothing, but even more nothing then. Just a cool guy. And then like a week later, he passed away. So I never got to get on the show. But I think it's good to kind of mark the time and pay our respects to the guy who pretty much did it first and did it best as far as realignment talk and all that. Golden Blue Dude, number 1. Not shocking it's a West Virginia guy. Not shocking. And yes, Jimmy Otson, you were number 1, but it's a trickle with my audience. Get on Greg Flugar's and it's like 100, 200. Yeah, I don't really have that problem. What's up, Daniel Gygax? Appreciate you being here, sir. Your prediction on when the first ACC announces leaving the ACC. I'm thinking this summer. Wow. That would be really, really, really quick, Mr. Gygax. I wouldn't put money on it. I would like to see it. It'd be great for content. Well, we'll see. But I this summer may be a little soon. Next summer, would not doubt it at all. Golden Blue would be at 300,000 right now if he were still here. He was growing at a rocket pace, absolutely. And I remember at the time, I was still a Monty fan. And was watching the Monty show. And Monty had at that time, about 14,000 subscribers. And so Chris, while they were on live, was in the comments, and was like, hey, I got 14,000, you got 14,000, let's do something, right? Because that's kind of what the community's been about, right? I've been on Kuz's show, I've been on Outlaw's show, I've had a college football addiction guy on my show, shockingly. I've been on the college football mafia. It's kind of, we all collaborate. That's the cool thing about this community, right? This realignment, college football, college basketball community. We all help each other out. And I think that's a real spirit of Golden Blue Dude. So that's kind of where he was at with Monty, because they were the same size, growing about the same rate. And then Monty was like, no, we don't do that. No, man, we don't do that. You don't do that. You know, that's what I thought. I was like, what are we talking about? And then he was just, after that, I just said, the hell with Monty. I ain't dealing with that. This little he's a wannabe corporate little little piss or big pissant. He's just a wannabe. He's not even a real one. He's at least Josh Pate is like real. This guy, I'm like, and if you watch him interview, I mean, it was like the Big 12 media days. I don't believe it was last summer. I think it was the first summer. It was going to be the first season of Houston and UCF, Cincinnati, and BYU. And like, so Monty interviewed like, I keep wanting to say Jeff Saturday. Damn it, Cincinnati coach. It was a pretty damn lousy interview. I'm like, dude, this guy does not need you to toss his salad. Just ask some questions. Think of some decently thought out questions. Horrible. Total fraud. Jimmy Otson, 2 years ago, Golden Blue Dude was the only streamer I watched that didn't play Among Us. Wasn't until after he passed that I found you, Greg, and the Mafia, etc. I hear you. He had some really, really good fans. Really good fans that really loyal to him. What was it? Golden Blue Dude was the only streamer I watched that didn't play Among Us. You mean the video game, Jimmy? I hear you, Coos. And you were, you knew him a lot better than I did. You were on a show, you did all that. He was a generally good-hearted guy. Really cool guy. He was a good dude, no pun intended. True. Let's see here. Hat check. Yes, sir. Mike Sharp, what's going on? Just got home from work to be treated to a live Skull event. Nice. Well, I'm glad you like that. Not everybody does. So it's nice. Absolutely. I got some DP strawberry version. Didn't have the Pepsi. I like Pepsi, but I didn't have it. The reason why I think there will be an announcement this summer is it will cost schools money not to leave. It very well could happen. Very well could happen. I mean, who am I to tell you no? Who am I to tell you no? It's not like they would pay the exit fee this summer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Golden Blue Dude made me a Monty fan. Then Monty shit all over. Exactly. Golden Blue Dude actually helped Monty grow a little bit just by shouting him out. Monty, he ain't trying to help nobody. He ain't trying to help nobody but his gut. That's it. You ever seen a picture of this guy like golfing? Talk to me about like, a workout drink. Q's Golden Blue Dude is how I found your show. And there's a lot of people that got directed to him. He shouted me out. Of course, Q's. He was great like that. Absolutely stunningly great like that. That's awesome, Q's. That's awesome. And he'd be proud of you, man. You're doing good. You're killing it. Satterfield. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, you know what? You could look. I think they're getting out early. I don't know how early. I don't know when they would announce anything, but they are going to be getting out early. There's no doubt. I think ESPN and Fox are going to fight over them a little bit. I'm talking FSU. I'm talking Clemson. I know we've heard, oh, it's got to be UNC first. No, it doesn't. There's a whole political thing there that's got to be worked through. The board of governors there in North Carolina. I don't know. I don't know if ESPN wants to lose Florida State because people got to wait for North Carolina. I don't know about that. I've been hearing that. Just don't know about that. That's all I'm saying. Before we go a little bit further, we lost another one. Now, not a realignment. Val Kilmer. Now, I was on watching a peek around the corner earlier, and someone threw out an RIP to Val Kilmer, and we started talking about the movies. And I brought up, of course, Doc Holliday. Everyone knows that's the role, right? That's the quotable. But there's two other ones. There's Mad Mardigan from Willow. That was awesome. But right there for me, not as high up as Doc Holliday, but Chris Knight from Real Genius. It's like his second movie ever. Freaking phenomenal movie. I told my old lady about it. She always loved Val Kilmer. I've never seen that. Well, guess what? We're watching this weekend. We're watching some Real Genius. We're going to see a house get destroyed with popcorn. That's right. While Tears for Fears is playing in the background, popcorn is destroying an a-hole's house. That is a movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's good. Now, it was made like, a little bit after Revenge of the Nerds and stuff like that. And it was supposed to be, one of those campy kind of dirty boobs all over the place, kind of, meatballs, that kind of vein of stuff that got real popular there in the early 80s. But they hired a director and she wanted it a little different. Let's have some real characters here. Let's do something a little bit different. So Real Genius didn't really fall down that same path. It's actually a good story, still real funny. It just doesn't have a lot of the dirty stuff as you would expect from something of that vein. Nothing. I'm not crapping on Revenge of the Nerds. I love Revenge of the Nerds. This one's just a little more heartfelt, I think. It's good. It's good. So, I'm asking y'all for a lot. I apologize. We're doing the Get It Gang thing. If you got any video ideas, let me know. Throw them in the comments. I don't care if it's after the live stream or during. Also, give me your Big Val movies. Give me those. What's the top stuff? That's what I want to know. Or if you have something about Golden Blue Dude, throw that out there. And then after we get all this going, then we'll go to the BYU. Then we'll hit up with that. Jimmy Opson, we will see the ACC exodus beginning because UNC can't do anything quiet. That could be true. Rob Ellen, what's up, man? I just don't understand the UVA talk. Footprint over eyeballs and money. That's what I'm saying. There is no way. There's no way. There's no way in hell UVA is going to the SEC. I don't care. ESPN is not going to pay that money for that viewership. There's no way. It ain't happening. I cannot. I do not care what source is talking to what people. That ain't happening. Love Greg Flugar. That's what he's on. And he's on that because of sources. And he's got reputable sources. These guys have given him some big breaking stuff before. The USC to the Big Ten kind of thing before. Absolutely. And I'm not saying they're wrong about people in the Big Ten wanting UNC or UVA. But there is a media partner that's paying for everything, and I think they're talking out of their butt. Out of their anus. Out of their rectal projectile cannon they're talking out of. Mike Sharp, Real Genius was awesome. Of course it was. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I don't know where it's streaming. You know what? I'm going to find out real quick. Let's see. It is on Amazon Prime for $3.59. If you ain't got $3.59, something's wrong with you. Okay, so it's not just streaming for free somewhere. You got to buy it. But Fandango or Apple TV, whoever wants to buy anything on that, Google Play. So you kind of have to buy it, but it's cheap. It's cheap because people don't know. Get it while it's cheap. Price is going to go up now. Top Secret is a secret Val Kilmer gym. It is. I grew up on that too. Silly as hell, but fun. My dad liked it. I remember that. What did I miss? Everything, Big Lubbock. You missed it all. What can I tell you? The meat. No, you did. If you have a video idea, we're doing Get It Gang stuff in tribute to Golden Blue Dude. So if you have a video idea, let me know, Big Lubbock. I'm pretty sure it's on tech. Nobody watches UVA. Absolutely true. Nobody. BYU basketball and football will bring people everywhere. Yes. What's up, Almighty Finn? I appreciate you being here, sir. Les Austin Jr., you Big 12 guys are delusional, gaslighting BYU hype. Well, Les, I don't know how I'm gaslighting BYU hype. See, I'm talking about them because they don't really get talked about. I made a video about it, but let me address a little bit of it right now. As a matter of fact, got me a banner. Thank you for bringing this up. But BYU deserves a lot more credit in the Big 12 than they've been getting. Nationally, within the Big 12, everything. But I think if you ask Big 12 people, they're like, yeah, that's been a great ad. And it has been. They're fans. Fans are cool people. They're not the vicious Utah Ute type. Well, they're not. But, even Utah fans have been pretty cool in the Big 12, I got to say. But no, BYU's brought it, man. They have competed at high freaking level. Football, of course, basketball, got to the Sweet 16. Hell of a year. Hell of a year for BYU. But they don't get the national love. They just don't. They get some love, but they never really have gotten that. And I think it's excuse me. And to me, it's more about their Mormon faith than it is what they've actually done. Because BYU's been a successful school for a long time. They've done really well. They get really good eyeballs. They got a lot of support, big fan base. And it's kind of like what I was making that video about. And by the way, before I even go on with this, I got to thank BYU fans big time. So I did this video called Rise of BYU, kind of explaining that and kind of going into stuff I'm about to go into. But I need to throw out a big fat thank you. It is appreciated to all of the BYU faithful out there. I don't think I've ever had a video that has netted me more subscribers than that video. It's insane. All right. Uh, it's been overwhelming. That's a lot of love being shown by that fan base. And by the way, I didn't do it to get a bunch of subscribers. I never do anything to get something. I do it because I want to do it. Because I feel there's a point to be made, or it's a topic of conversation I want to hit. That's why I make videos. Because I'm really opinionated. Not always nice about it, but I'm really opinionated. And I like to throw that out there. What am I going to do? I'm going to tell my wife about, hey, the greatness of BYU being in the Big 12. She doesn't give a randy crap about any of that. Now, if we want to talk Judge Judy, she's all over it. But not this stuff. So that's what my computer and this room and all this crap is about. So, but I got to thank the BYU faithful for throwing a ton of support my way. It is appreciated. Having said that, BYU faithful, there's times when there's going to be some language. I've tried to tone that down over the years. Try to be a little more respectful to my audience. I don't really care about YouTube as much. I've had one video get demonetized because a little too much language, but it wasn't really about that. I just been trying to be a little bit better. I go to church. I'm a Christian. And I don't always act like it or talk like it. But I was raised by two truck drivers, mom and dad, both truck drivers. So I'm kind of a little behind the eight ball when it comes to four-letter words. But I've been trying to tone it down a little. Just a little. But there may be some language sometimes. I apologize up front. A lot of you are new subscribers, aren't used to my content. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a jerk. Sometimes I'm going to go on rants. They're going to be unpleasant. They're not going to be the nicest of things said. It's nothing personal. We're just talking sports here. It's not any kind of real hate. Just to let you know. And if it gets to be a little too much, I'm sure there's another video somewhere where it's maybe a little more light and funny and positive in nature. So I appreciate, I just want to give out that warning, but I appreciate all the subscribers, man. It's been really, really cool from the BYU faithful. Having said that, they don't get the attention nationally that you would think they would get. Because you could say, well, same thing about Memphis or Boise State or Tulane. Some of these other smaller brands that have had some really good sustained success for a long time. But I don't think any of them have had that on BYU's level. Especially not through independence and then handling independence successfully. Let's not forget that they were successful in independence. Look, it's easier for them to be part of the Big 12 than still independent. Independence is really hard. It's really, really hard. All right, Notre Dame has perfected it over decades and decades, 60, 70 years. Well, before that, of course, they've probably been independent for over 100 years. But early on, they were trying to get into the Big Ten. The Big Ten was like, nah. And then, especially once they got their deal with NBC, and this is like back in the 50s when they started that, they didn't need the Big Ten. They got to a point where they just didn't need anybody. Other people need them. They don't need them. Did I say that right? Other people need Notre Dame, and Notre Dame doesn't need them. How's that? Big Ten needs Notre Dame more than Notre Dame needs them. That'll make Big Ten people happy. But BYU, they tried to join the pack for a long time. And they were like, ew, Mormons. It's what it was. It's what it was. And I just made the point that, as far as a fellow Christian, I know because I've had Christians in my own family that kind of scoffed at the Mormons, right? Looked at them as less than, that they're not really Christian or something. Well, they are. Jesus Christ is in the title of who they are. It's the core of their belief, just like it is for any Christian. Now, if you have a Christian that, I don't know about Jesus, well, then you're not a Christian. Because, you call the Christian because of Christ, right? It's like, it's in the word. And I just made the point that, when you end up in heaven one day, walk through those pearly gates, you're going to see Mormons, and you're going to see Catholics, you're going to see Baptists, you're going to see Methodists, Presbyterians. Who am I leaving out? I know there's a denomination or two. You're going to see Church of Christ people, even a couple Church of Gods in there. You'll see some Church of God people. Who's that preacher down there in Houston? The big time, Mr. Big Time, when they had the hurricane, he wouldn't let anyone into his church to take shelter. The guy that always smiles, like this big fake smile, and his wife has a big fake smile. Just send me some money and you'll be saved. You'll get rich. Believe in Jesus. That guy, you may not see him, but I'm sure there's a handful of people from his church you'll see. That's all I was saying. So, if you got a problem with Mormons, you may have a problem with yourself. But other than that, we need to have a conversation. Is BYU, is it time to recognize them as a top brand in the Big 12? Are they a top brand in the Big 12? I don't know about biggest, but right there in the conversation. I think so. Now, there's not a big difference between BYU and TCU. BYU and Baylor, BYU and Iowa State, BYU and Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona, Kansas State. I mean, we're all pretty close together. It's not that far apart. But BYU's a hell of a get, man. It just is. I think it just makes us more powerful. And maybe that's why we get such blowback sometimes from the ACC parts, side of the country. Oh, we would never join the Big 12. I think a lot of that has to do with BYU. Not a lot, but there's a bigger percentage. Like, there's not all that much hate for TCU or Kansas. They wouldn't mind being associated with Kansas, but they look over there at these dirty Mormons. Ugh. Never. Get over it. What choice do you got when your top brands leave? You better find some kind of higher ground. And just in case you're wondering, Big 12 is well above sea level. I'm going to be caught up on some of these comments. Delusional. Rob Allen, I was at the Arizona and BYU basketball game in Tucson this Friday. The students were savages to the BYU folks. Yeah, they've been dealing with that kind of crap for a long time. And I think it's time for that to end. To say, look, they're Christians. They have a few different traditions than other people. And I don't look like Church of Christ people. They don't get all this crap. But Church of Christ, they don't believe anyone's getting into heaven unless you're Church of Christ. So I think that's a tenet of the Mormons. They believe you got to be Mormon to get to the end goal, right? Do I agree with that? Apparently not. I don't really know if from what I'm getting from Mormons, I don't know if they really believe that or not. I don't know. I know I don't believe that. I believe there's going to be Mormons in heaven. There's going to be everybody. Like I said. So I don't get why Arizona wants to trash BYU people. Now, if it's just sports trashing, fine. But as long as it's not, oh, death to Mormons or some stupid. As long as it's none of that. Les Austin Jr., how many wives do you believe they can have? Just trying to learn. Well, in today's culture, you ain't got to be Mormon for that. What do they call it? A triad? Oh, polyamorous? At least they go to church. At least they go to church. Lubbock is a very clean town. No bird crap in Lubbock. I think you remember. My mom always said about Lubbock, birds fly upside down in Lubbock because there ain't nothing worth crapping on. Don't believe me. I was an old school trucker. Daniel Gygax, I was at the West Virginia BYU basketball game a month ago. 2 things. Nicest crowd I have ever been in an opposing fan. And the loudest arena I have ever been in. They're awesome. They're awesome. And here's the weird thing. All right. Because like when people come in to play, what is it? Utah Jazz, Salt Lake City. You know, there's always been this talk about, these people are racist. Yeah, I number one, the Jazz should have never left New Orleans. If you go to Utah, you need to have another name. The Utah Jazz. It just sounds. New Orleans Jazz sounds right. So, whatever. But do I really believe some of these players, like, oh, they yell racist stuff at me? I'll believe that more with Boston than I would with Salt Lake City. Just do. Les Austin Jr., the Big Ten is okay. We have landmark school than any conference. We have more landmark schools than any conference, maybe. Okay. That's cool. The Big 12, the Big Lubbock. Are last year's Big 12 top teams going to finish last, and the last place teams finish at the top, and the middle teams stay in the middle? I don't think so. I mean, it could theoretically happen that way, but I think Kansas is going to be back, so I guess that would be flip-flopping. But Kansas State was one of the top teams. I think they're going to be dangerous. I think BYU is going to be dangerous again. Arizona State was a top team last year. I think they have the quarterback. They have all that to be one of the top guys. So, to me, it's like some of these top teams that, as far as keeping your quarterback, some of your core talent, some of these teams can have a 2-3 year run in them. So look out for Arizona State. But look out for TCU, baby. Mr. Hoover. Mr. Hoover's for real. Daniel Gygax, Joel Olstein. I'm sorry. I hope Mr. Olstein eventually actually comes to know Christ one day, repents, and I hope I see him in heaven. But right now, it's kind of hard to call that shot with Joel Olstein. The guy looks like he should be, the guy looks like he should be selling the slap chop. Look, slap. That's what he looks like. Billy Blank's here. Selling the black gook you put in a fishing boat cut in half. He looks like that. He should be selling he should be selling a slap chop somewhere. Rob Ellen. I think BYU has deeper pockets than those others. They probably do. They probably do. They probably have, get by pretty well. Mike Sharp, latest on the NC State. North Carolina House Bill 469, filed in the North Carolina House, would require UNC Chapel Hill and NC State to play each other annually in men's and women's basketball and football. Well, that's another complication. Nothing that theoretically, UNC goes to the SEC, goes to the Big Ten. That wouldn't be a problem. If they had to play NC State, they'd be like, okay, no problem. So, even if there's like a scheduling alliance between the Big Ten and the SEC, they're still going to allow Georgia Tech to play Georgia. More than likely. They're still going to allow South Carolina to play Clemson. Florida State's going to play Florida. Some of these rivalries is going to happen. Louisville, Kentucky, things like that. Daniel Gygax swapped the names: New Orleans Jazz, Utah Lakers, and LA Pelicans. It should be the Minnesota Lakers, the land of 1,000 lakes. It kind of makes sense. That's what the NBA is stupid. They're stupid with a lot of their crap. When the Oilers left Houston, it didn't make sense to be the Tennessee Oilers. They became the Tennessee Titans. That makes sense. And then, the Texan name, it used to be the Dallas Texans, and then they moved to Kansas City and became the Chiefs. Right? And then, they wanted to put another team in Dallas. They called them the Cowboys. And then they wanted another team in Houston, brought back the Texan moniker. That's not a new thing. And fun fact, when I was in high school, went to Northwest High School, the Northwest Texans. And we had the exact same helmet and exact same uniform as the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because we were Northwest, right? You had a big N, white helmet, red N, go big red, the whole thing. Our high school did. Can't stand it when high schools rip off someone else's thing. But I will say, my very first football game ever, 7th grade, we played the Springtown Porcupines. So sometimes it might be good to rip something off. That's all I'm saying. And it was an amazing thing, though. So at the time, I'm playing right tackle. I pretty much always played right tackle, but I line up. They got a defensive end who's probably 80 pounds. I mean, no lie, 80 pounds. I know it's 7th grade, but at 7th grade, I was pushing, 180. I was a big dude. And this kid lined up over me and looked at me. He's like, holy shit. That's literally what he said. I didn't know how to play. I didn't know anything. I'm just like, see guy, hit guy. That's all I knew. So I just trucked him over and over. It was fun. It was fun. But sometimes, it might be good to steal someone else's intellectual property because you have a bad one. All right. UNC and the SEC's white whale is the SEC's white whale. I don't think it's ESPN's white whale, Bagman. But I appreciate your comment. I appreciate everyone who's been here. Going to have to take off. Old lady's going to be coming home soon. And I'm about to start editing my next video and get that crap up. Hopefully by morning. We'll see what happens. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. Kuz's Corner, Jimmy Odson, Daniel Gygax, K. Newren, Big Lubbock, Rob Ellen, Les Austin Jr. I say Rob Ellen? I don't know. Mike Sharp. Absolutely. Bagmen. BYU basketball should be in the Final Four next year with AJ. Very well could be. Very well could be. Anyway, like I said, thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one. Peace out. Bye.